Okay, what's going on, everybody? We are here. We are live. I want to thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit that like button because that's one of the most important things you can do for me on this channel. What it does is that it helps make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get their notifications, and it also helps to push this video through the YouTube algorithm as well. Secondly, if you're new to the channel, or maybe you've been ghost watching this channel for quite some time now, always watching my videos but never subscribing, please do me a favor and yourself a favor by hitting that subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, but definitely most importantly, please make sure you follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. And that way we can get around all of the foolishness of, oh, YouTube isn't sending me my notifications. Oh, YouTube unsubscribe me from your channel, yada, 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 right? If you're on Telegram, then you will be like my man over here, Papa Onaya Shelley, who knows exactly when I'm going live or dropping a video because he gets that Telegram link. So now that the introduction out of the way, let's get the show started. Let's get the show started because it's looking like Emperor Brandon Johnson of the People's Republic of Chicago may finally be possibly facing recall. He may finally find himself in position to which he may be recalled because a bill has been introduced on the House floor in the Illinois State House of Representatives that will put in motion the ability, the people of Chicago, to be able to recall him. Okay. This is a bill that has actually been introduced every year, surprisingly enough, since 2015. But this time around, the political will appears to be there to get this bill all the way through on a state level, to be able to get Brandon Johnson out of Chicago, mainly due to the fact that he has such a poor relationship with the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, and the state representatives as a whole. The relationship between Chicago and Springfield is horrible. I want to just read a couple quotes from J.B. Pritzker, once again, the governor of Illinois, because he's been putting this out on Front Street, right? He's been letting everybody know that essentially they have no relationship. And give me just a moment. I forgot to do something very quickly. Okay, sorry about that. I should be live now on X and Rumble as well. I forgot to set that up, but I should be live on both now. But let's get back to JB Pritzker, because JB Pritzker has slammed Brandon Johnson recently in a press conference that he did. I believe it was about a week ago. And I just want to get into some of these quotes here. Look at this article here. Pritzker hammers Johnson over poor relationships in Springfield amid hemp fight. Listen to what JB Pritzker had to say. They don't reach out very often. This is JB Pritzker speaking on Brandon Johnson and his administration. They don't reach out very often, and it seems like they don't have good relationships in Springfield, in part because they don't do the outreach that's necessary, he says. I've always taken calls from the mayor, and he has my direct number. The lines of communication are open, but people have to take advantage of the open communication line, he said. Here's another quote here from that same press conference where he said, maybe in the time he's been mayor, he's called me perhaps 5 times. These two are not on good terms at all whatsoever. And if you've been following the Brandon Johnson debacle in Chicago, this is something that's been honestly very clear and apparent for quite some time now, that these two just do not get along. And because now because there is a rift between Brandon Johnson and the governor, and between Johnson's administration and state representatives of Illinois, the political will is finally there to push this through and get this done. So now what I want to do is that I want to take a moment and an opportunity to actually go through what this bill is, right? and the man who has actually introduced this bill. And like I said, he's been introducing this bill every year since 2015. He's been trying to get this passed, but once again, it looks like it's finally going to get done. Let's get into this right now. Proposed law would let Chicagoans recall Mayor Johnson in special election. This is something that can definitely happen. And I'm truly hoping that it does, because this man, Brandon Johnson, is so garbage. And this is a man who just does not care. I'm going to get into some clips of Brandon Johnson and some of the foolishness that has come out of his mouth recently after we go through this. House Bill 1084 would provide relief to the 70% of voters disapproving of Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson by creating a process to recall the mayor. Voters in Chicago currently have no way to oust a failing mayor between elections, even when most Chicagoans think the mayor is failing. There are 70% of voters who disapprove of Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, according to a November 2024 poll by Change Research. They are stuck under current law with a failing mayor until the next election. But that could change with a bill introduced in the Illinois General Assembly this session. House Bill 1084, filed by State Representative LaShawn Ford, Democrat from Chicago, creates a process for recalling a mayor in Chicago. Here's how the process would work. Let's get into how this would work right now. An affidavit must be filed with the Board of Election Commissioners by the person proposing the recall, along with at least 2 aldermen. The affidavit must not be filed within the first 6 months of the mayor's term. So he's already exceeded that 6-month period, right? He's recallable now at this moment. A petition for recall must be circulated and signed by a number of voters equal to at least 15% of the total voters cast for mayor in the previous Chicago mayoral election. There must be at least 50 signatures from each ward. I think that would be something that is very easy to do at this point in time. We are talking about a mayor who has an approval rating of, I believe, 14%, which is crazy. I've never heard of an approval rating that low from any elected official. That is out of control. The petition must be turned, the petition must be turned in not more than 150 days after the affidavit is filed. The Board of Election Commissioners must certify the petition not more than 100 days after it is filed if it has been correctly executed. The question, shall Brandon Johnson be recalled from the office of mayor, shall be submitted to voters in a special election within 100 days of the board's certification of the petition. And then the icing on the cake, the grand finale that we're all waiting for, it is at that point the mayor is immediately removed. I want to say that one more time. It is at that point the mayor is immediately removed from office if a simple majority votes for his recall, right? So at that point, a special election is put in place where you're just voting on whether or not you want this man out of here. And by the basis of his approval rating, which I see is 15% here at the bottom, clearly that would be easy to do. At that point, the vice mayor shall serve until another special election is held. This has to go through, and we're about to wrap this article up right now. Just give me a moment to be patient, just 3 more paragraphs. The bill also provides a process for the special election of a new mayor. The recall and election process outlined in HB 1084 applies only to the city of Chicago. Ford said he has filed a version of this bill every year since 2015, but for some reason, now there's political will for recall. It's no wonder, with just 15% of voters having a favorable opinion of the mayor and 70% having an unfavorable opinion, according to the November Change Research poll. A 15% approval rating. I cannot get over that. I still can't get over that, right? So now what I want to do is that I need to scoot over. I hate that. I'm always like have myself cut off. I apologize for that. So now what I want to do is that I want to jump into a couple clips from Brandon Johnson. Because when you're talking about Brandon Johnson, you're talking about a man who just does not care. He doesn't care. He's the definition of just collecting a check. This is just a guy who's collecting a check. I'm just here because being the emperor of the People's Republic of Chicago is easy money. It's easy money. And that's why I'm here, right? I want to get into some clips right now. And I want you to listen to Brandon Johnson's reaction and what he has to say when he's presented with these polling numbers that show how unpopular he is. Let's get into clip number one. This is the first of 3 clips.
Recent polls show 76% of those surveyed say Chicago would be better off with a different mayor. How do you convince them otherwise?
Well, look, the people of Chicago elected me to invest in people. In every single category as it relates to investments, they're up. I actually am humbled that the people of Chicago believe in my administration enough to have greater expectations than any other administration. That's what leadership looks like, and I'm humbled to do it.
Why do you say that? Why do you say that there's greater expectations? I don't know where I hear that. Because,
yeah.
and then the feedback instead is that the polling is poor. So I don't know how you interpret it that way.
Well, because maybe because I'm a middle child. Maybe it's because I'm a Bears fan. By the way, the Bears are undefeated in 2025, so we're off to a great start.
Have anything
Here's
to do
what I'm
with
saying, though. Look, the people of Chicago.
He's trolling. This man is trolling. Understand, we've gone through this already. I'm not going to go too deep into it right now. But by way of numerous loopholes that he has exploited, Brandon Johnson is looking at an early retirement to which he will receive a pension between $3 to $5 million. This man does not care. That's why he's just saying anything. He's just saying anything. The local news reporter is telling him, you are wildly unpopular. What do you have to say about that? How do you fix this? What do you do about it? How do you feel about this? And his response is, well, maybe it's because I'm a middle child. And also, that, the Bears are undefeated in 2025, right? That's hilarious. This is ridiculous.
Say that there's greater expectations. I don't know where I hear that. Because,
yeah.
and then the feedback instead is that the polling is poor. So I don't know how you interpret it that way.
Well, because maybe because I'm a middle child. Maybe it's because I'm a Bears fan. By the way, the Bears are undefeated in 2025, so we're off to a great start.
Have anything
Here's
to do
what I'm
with
saying, though. Look, the people of Chicago voted for me to invest in them, and that's exactly what we've done. And I'm going to continue to do that.
The real ones know what happened just now. If you're a real one and you've been subscribed to this channel for a long time now, let me know in the live chat what just happened and why I had to get off the screen for a moment. Shout out to all the real ones that have been with me for a while. So now what I want to do, this guy is crazy. I want to get into another clip. I want to get into another clip now in which he was presented with this information and this fact by way of polling again. He was presented with it again, and watch what he says this time. He's going to struggle to even come up with an answer as he's trying to BS the audience. Let's listen to this next.
In 2023, you were elected a little over 52% of the vote in the mayoral's race. But in the most recent poll of Chicago voters, that you had a 14% approval rating with a 70% disapproval rating. I know you mentioned that there's a lot of numbers that you care about and that you were pointing to things that you are talking about doing for the city, but in a democracy, what really matters is how the voters perceive your administration's work. So why are you so unpopular?
Well, I mean, look, fortunately for me, that I'm not moved by polls. They're a snapshot at a point of time. Like, people have their expression and opinion of whether or not, we should hire more young people. People have an opinion on whether or not we should open up mental health clinics. Clearly, people have an opinion on whether or not we should, stay to international and national law.
What is he talking about? This is a man who knows he's walking away a multimillionaire by gaming the system in Chicago and exploiting numerous loopholes, and then becoming the mayor, knowing it's easy money and I'm not going to get recalled. What is he even talking about right now? What is this man even saying? Let's hear this one more time. I'm not gonna go all the way back, but let's just go back to how he's answering this.
Like, people have their expression and opinion of whether or not, we should hire more young people. People have an opinion on whether or not we should open up mental health clinics. Clearly, people have an opinion on whether or not we should, stay to international and national law. That people have those opinions, and, I can say this emphatically. I was elected to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago. And I will stop at nothing to ensure that happens.
This man, when he doesn't have his pre-written script memorized, this is what he does. I've been covering Brandon Johnson from the moment that he got into office. He's always spoken gibberish like this. This isn't something that's new, but it's more pronounced now the more and deeper that he has gone into his tenure as mayor of Chicago, and we see how horrible of a mayor he is. And then you take how trash of a job he's doing, and you put on top of that the fact that this man, it's not even word salad. He's not even talking word salad. He's just talking stupid. You're trolling. That's what it appears. It's really, you're just trolling. As my man Mansa Musa said earlier, he's basically telling Chicago, F y'all. I don't care. I could care less. I'm getting paid regardless. And I'm going to walk away a multimillionaire. I want to play this before we get out of here. This is the last video I'm going to play, and then we're done. I've talked about this clip numerous times before, but I've never played it. This is my first time playing it. What you're getting ready to listen to right now is Brandon Johnson essentially address black on black violence, but he's going to refer to black on black violence as Black Death. That's what he's going to call it, right? And he is going to blame a black on black violence on Richard Nixon. He's going to blame gang violence and all that type of activity that happens in Chicago today is Richard Nixon's fault. Don't believe me? Listen to this foolishness. This is that. Anyways, let me just play it.
We cut off the pipeline of.
Also, my apologies. The volume is going to be low on this clip. I didn't have an opportunity to adjust it. Sorry about that. If you're in a kind of a loud space, my apologies. You're going to have to listen a little bit harder.
So we cut off the pipeline of boys between the ages of 10 and 19 being either victims or the perpetrators. So, yeah, it is personal. Black death has been unfortunately accepted in this country for a very long time. We had a chance 60 years ago to get at the root causes, and people mocked President Johnson. And we ended up with Richard Nixon. I'm going to work hard every day to transform this city. That's what it takes to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago, and I need everybody to step up.
What is this man saying? What does Richard Nixon have to do with gang violence in Chicago? That has nothing to do with nothing. Like, I'm operating on a new laptop right now. If I were to get my old laptop right now and just kind of switch things out because I have more Brandon Johnson videos on the old laptop, I could extend this live stream by about, I don't know, maybe another 30 minutes, just playing foolishness like this. But he's sitting here blaming Richard Nixon for Black death in Chicago, which is essentially he's talking about black on black crime, right? And gang violence. He's blaming Richard Nixon for this when Chicago has been a one-party city. What is that since the last time they had a Republican mayor was 1927. Shout out to William H. Thompson. They've been a DNC stronghold since 1931. 1931. Democrats have been running this city since 1931. But some way, somehow, gang violence in Chicago is Richard Nixon's fault. Black death in Chicago is Richard Nixon's fault. But the last time they had a Republican mayor was in 1927. Once again, shout out to, big homie William H. Thompson. Look at that hat. I need a hat like my man William H. Thompson. I need a hat like this. Okay? So my point is, in closing, is that as you can see, this man just talks stupid. He talks foolishness, not because he's incompetent. It's because he doesn't care. It's because he doesn't care. I'm not giving him the incompetent, excuse, Brandon Johnson. He's competent enough. He just does not care. And that's why you get these answers that you get out of him. Because he knows that he is walking away a multimillionaire once his time in office is done. Walking away with millions. So if there was ever a time for this bill to get passed on a state level, it's now. The will to do it is there on the state level because of how horrible his relationship is with Springfield and with the governor of Illinois. The will is there on the side of the people of Chicago who want him out, to which he only has a 15% approval rating. The will is just there all around. If this doesn't get passed, I would be shocked. I would be shocked because it just doesn't make sense. Nobody wants this guy around. Nobody. Citizens of Chicago and the state officials, they don't want this guy around it. They don't like him. They don't like him, So we'll see what happens. But I don't know, man. Hopefully he's finally out of here. And I'll just leave it at that. It looks like he may hopefully be finally out of here. And with all that being said, that does it for today's video. So I want to thank you all for joining me today, man. Please hit the like button on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms. And once again, please Telegram. Please follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. And also follow me on Rumble as well. I want to give my thank yous before I head out of here to those of you who contributed to today's stream. Shout out to Mark Ferris. I appreciate you, Mark. He said, Brandon Johnson is done. I certainly hope so. Because this guy has no friends on any level. He doesn't have any friends in his city as it pertains to the citizen population. At least half of the city council in Chicago does not rock with him. They are not Brandon Johnson allies. And on the state level, it appears that he's burned all bridges, with the governor's office, J.B. Pritzker's administration, and everybody down in Springfield. So, I mean, Brandon Johnson should be out of here before his term is up. We'll see how this plays out, though. And shout out to my man Saul, who stays keeping my family fed. He said it's a bowler hat. It has an open crown and a short brim. Also, your hats. I need me one of those. I didn't even realize that I still had William H. Thompson on the screen. But I definitely need me one of these hats right here, you know, that classic Republican bowler hat. Anyways, that does it for today's show. Thank you guys for joining me today, man. It's time for me to head out of here. But please, once again, share this video out on social media platforms. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Hit the like button on your way out. And follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link is in the description box below. And will be pinned in the comment section once the stream ends. Thank you guys for your time, and I will catch you guys later. Peace, and have a great afternoon.